A Würstelstand is a small street food stand in Vienna that sells sausages, hot dogs, and quick snacks. It is essentially a kiosk where you can buy freshly prepared sausages and bread, along with drinks and sides. These stands are found all over the city, and they are a very common sight in Vienna. People stop at Würstelstand for a fast and tasty bite because the food is convenient and flavorful. The atmosphere at a Würstelstand is casual and friendly, so visitors often end up chatting while they eat. You usually eat standing up at a high table next to the stand, and this makes the experience feel informal and social. At a Würstelstand, the menu centers around sausages. The word Würstel means little sausage. In Austrian German and Würstelstand, the plural form, have been part of Vienna's food culture for a very long time. A typical stand offers a variety of sausages like Wiener Würstchen, Vienna sausages, Bratwurst, Buriner sausages, Bratwurst, Käsekrainer, and more, served with bread and mustard or ketchup. They might also serve hot dogs in a bun, along with side dishes like pickles or peppers. The stands usually offer drinks as well, so you can get a cold beer or a soft drink to enjoy with your snack. In short, a Würstelstand is a one-stop shop for a quick warm meal on the go, and it is loved by locals because it's simple but satisfying. Early history, from empire to sausage carts. Würstelstände have a long history in Vienna. Street vendors have been selling sausages here since the 18th century. Back in the 1700s, there were mobile sausage sellers known as Brattelbräter, which means roast meat roasters. They would roam the streets with portable grills or cauldrons because that was how they could reach customers before there were fixed food stalls. They sold warm sausages by the piece to people on the street, and this was the beginning of Vienna's sausage stand culture. It became popular because people in the city loved having a warm snack that they could grab quickly while out and about. During the time of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the city found a social use for these sausage stalls. The authorities allowed disabled war veterans to operate Würstelstand as a way to earn a living. Many soldiers returned from wars injured, so giving them a license to sell food on the street was a compassionate way to help them because jobs were scarce for them otherwise. This was similar to how Vienna gave war veterans licenses to run tobacco shops, Trafiken, as both were small businesses suited for someone with limited mobility. Because of this policy, sausage stands spread through Vienna in the 19th century as a means of supporting veterans and feeding the public at the same time. In the 19th century, sausage making also evolved and new types of sausages were introduced that made these stands even more popular. For example, the classic Frankfurter sausage, known abroad as the Vienna sausage, became a hit in Vienna in the 1800s. A butcher from Frankfurt is credited with creating the Frankfurter Würstel by mixing pork and beef, and it was easy to cook and serve on the street. Innovations like this helped the Würstelstand culture grow, so the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw more sausage stands appearing around the city. By the early 1900s, grabbing a sausage from a street vendor had become a normal part of Viennese city life. After World War I, a new era for sausage stands. World War I brought hardship to Vienna, but it also marked a turning point for Würstelstand. After the war ended in 1918, many former soldiers found themselves jobless and struggling, so some of them started selling sausages on street corners to survive. They set up mobile cookshops, basically little carts or stands that could move from place to place. At first, these were very simple. One common image is a vendor with a big pot or bucket of hot water in which sausages floated, ready to be served. In fact, early Würstelstand sellers often just had a bucket of hot water to keep the sausages warm, and they sold them from small carts. Some carts were even pulled by dogs or by horses to get to the vendor's spot in the city. This might sound humble, but it worked well because people always wanted a cheap and warm snack, especially in tough economic times. One famous stand from this period is Würstelstand Leo, which opened in 1928 and is still operating today. Würstelstand Leo is often cited as the longest-running sausage stand in Vienna, and it started as a family business that has passed through generations. Its continuous operation since the 1920s shows how important these stands became in the life of the city. By the late 1920s and 1930s, sausage stands were truly part of Vienna's urban landscape. They were frequented by workers heading home, by students, and by practically anyone who wanted a quick bite. Through the early 20th century, Würstelstand remained mobile stalls. Vendors would push their sausage carts to busy areas or events. They were especially common outside factories, markets, and later near cinemas or beer halls at night. Even after World War II, the tradition continued and sausage stands helped feed the population during the difficult post-war years. The stands were modest, but they provided comfort because the food was hot and hearty when times were hard. Over time, these humble food carts became a beloved Vienna institution. The Würstelstand boom in the mid-20th century. The 1960s brought a big change for Vienna's sausage stands. Up until then, city rules required most stands to be mobile, but in 1969, the city government changed the regulations to allow permanent sausage kiosks on the streets. This was a turning point because vendors no longer had to push carts around or pack up every day. They could build or install stationary Würstelstand that stayed in one spot, and they could connect to utilities like electricity and running water. This made it easier to prepare a variety of hot foods, and it also made the stands a stable part of each neighborhood. After 1969, Würstelstände became firmly entrenched in Viennese culture because they weren't going to roll away at the end of the night. They were permanent fixtures. With permanent stands, owners began to expand their menus and invest more into their little kiosks. New sausage recipes and styles were created, and one famous example is the Käsekrainer, which is a sausage filled with bits of cheese. The Käsekrainer was introduced around the late 1960s or early 1970s, and it quickly became a Viennese classic. When you grill a Käsekrainer, the cheese inside melts and it oozes out a bit when you bite into it. Locals love this rich and savory treat so much that it's now one of the most popular items at any Würstelstand. In fact, the Käsekrainer is affectionately nicknamed Eitrige, which means the pus-filled one, because of the gooey cheese. This gruesome nickname is all in good humor and Viennese wit. The creation of the Käsekrainer shows how Würstelstände kept evolving with the times, since the owners were creative and added new ideas to keep customers coming back. By the late 20th century, Vienna had hundreds of Würstel stands serving hungry customers day and night. They popped up near transit hubs and subway stations, and they provided late-night food for night owls staying out on the townee. Some stands even got special licenses to operate only at night because that's when business was best. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, stopping at a Würstel stand after a movie, after a concert, or during a night of bar hop-hopping became a cherished routine for Viennese people. Even as international fast food chains like McDonald's and Starbucks arrived in Vienna, the Würstel stand held onto their special place in the city's heart. They offered something familiar, local, and full of tradition, so people kept supporting them. A day in the life of a Würstel stand today. Today, Würstel stand remain an important part of daily life in Vienna. You can find around 100 sausage stands across the city, and each of them has its own character. Many are small family-run businesses, so some have been run by the same family for 2 or 3 generations. The stands usually open around mid-morning and stay open late into the night, and some in busy areas even stay open past midnight to catch the late crowd. It is common to see a mix of customers gathered around a stand because everyone gets hungry for a quick sausage at times. At lunchtime, you might see construction workers, office employees, and students standing shoulder to shoulder eating a quick lunch. In the evening, you might find friends grabbing a bite before heading home, and late at night, you'll find partygoers and night shift workers lining up for a snack. The Würstel stand is truly a gathering point for locals and tourists alike, where the street sweeper, the office manager, the celebrity, and the curious traveler all converge over a shared love of Vienna's snacks. In other words, all kinds of people meet here. One reason everyone gathers at sausage stands is because the atmosphere is welcoming and casual. There are no reservations, no dress code, and no stress. You just walk up and order. People often end up chatting with whoever is next to them at the standing table because Würstelstände are known as social equalizers. A business executive might be having a sausage next to a street cleaner or a student, and they might strike up a conversation about the weather, the news, or the city. In Vienna, this is a normal scene and part of the charm of these stands. The phrase "great social levelers" is often used to describe Viennese sausage stands because everyone, regardless of background, mingles together while ordering and eating their food. There is a sense of community and a shared local culture at the Würstel stand, and that is why they are cherished as more than just food stalls. Würstelstände also play a role in Vienna's nightlife. When other restaurants have closed, these stands are often still open, so they become the go-to spot for late-night hunger. It's a bit of a tradition to grab a sausage on your way home from an event. For example, after a concert or after enjoying a few drinks with friends, many Viennese will stop at a Würstelstand for a midnight snack before heading home. The bright lights of the sausage stand and the smell of grilled sausages are a welcome sight and scent for a tired crowd at midnight. Because the stands stay open late, they have stories of all the night's events. You might overhear laughter from a group of students or see a couple in formal evening dress from the opera sharing a quick hot dog. In fact, during Vienna's famous ball season, it's not uncommon to see people in elegant gowns and tuxedos crowded around a sausage stand after midnight, eating a sausage with their fingers. This mix of high and low, fancy and simple is exactly what Vienna's Würstelstände are about. What foods can you find at a Würstelstand? Even though the stands are small, the variety of sausages at a Würstelstand can be impressive. The menu is usually posted on the side of the stall, but it might be in German and sometimes uses local slang. Here are some of the classic foods you can order at a Viennese Würstelstand. Wiener, Frankfurter. This is the classic Vienna sausage, a thin smoked sausage made of pork, and sometimes a bit of beef. It is usually served as a pair of sausages kept warm in hot water. Locals call it a Frankfurter, even though the world calls it a Wiener or hot dog sausage. It comes with a piece of bread, and typically you eat it with mustard. Sometimes it's also served in a long bun as a simple hot dog with mustard and ketchup. Burenwurst, a thick, coarse, textured sausage that is usually boiled or grilled. It has a hearty, spicy flavor and often includes garlic and a bit of ham in the mix. The Burenwurst is quite filling. It's often cut into slices and served with a chunk of brown bread on the side. In Vienna dialect, this kind of big boiled sausage is nicknamed a Hass, a hot one, because it's served piping hot. Käsekrainer, a very popular sausage in Vienna that has small chunks of cheese inside the meaty. When it's grilled, the cheese melts, which makes the sausage juicy and rich. The Käsekrainer is usually split open or cut into bite-sized pieces for serving, and you dip the pieces in mustard or ketchup. As mentioned, locals humorously call it a Eitridge, meaning one with pus due to the melted cheese, but don't let the nickname scare you. It's delicious. Bosna, a spicy sausage served inside a long soft roll, topped with chopped onions and a special blend of curry powder and mustard. The Bosna is actually a snack that came from Salzburg, with a name referring to Bosnia, but it's loved in Vienna too. It's similar to a hot dog, but with a more intense flavor because of the curry and spices. Debrecen, a reddish, smoked sausage originally from Debrecen, Hungary, that has a spicy kick. Debreceners are often grilled or heated in hot water and served with mustard. They have a distinct paprika flavor, as they are seasoned with Hungarian paprika. Most sausages can be ordered either with skin or without skin. With skin, German, mit Darm, means the natural casing is left on, giving the sausage a nice snap when you bite it. Without skin, ohne Darm, means the casing is removed before serving, which some people prefer for a softer bite. You can also often choose whether you want your sausage grilled or boiled, depending on the type. For example, Käsekrainer is usually grilled so the cheese gets bubbly, but a Frankfurter is typically boiled in hot water. When you order, you also need to choose your accompaniments. Usually, the server will ask if you want a slice of bread or a bread roll, semmel. The traditional bread is a slice of dark Viennese rye bread, but many people go for the white Kaiser roll, which is crusty and easy to hold. You'll also choose your condiment. The typical choices are mustard, senf, or ketchup, or both. In Vienna, there are two kinds of mustard commonly available. Süßer Senf, sweet mustard, which is mild and sweet, or scharfer Senf, sharp mustard, which is spicy. Locals often prefer the sharp mustard, especially with a Käsekrainer or Burenwurst, because it balances the richness. You might also get a dollop of fresh horseradish, called Kren, on the side if you like a bit of extra kick, which goes great with a bratwurst. And of course, many people add a pickle, a big, crunchy gherkin cucumber. In Wiener dialect, a pickle is jokingly called a crocodile, because of its bumpy green skin. For drinks, the classic partner to a sausage is a beer. Many Viennese will order an Otterkringer beer, the local brew. In fact, if you want to sound like a local, you could ask for a 16er Blech, which literally means a 16th district can of beer, referring to a can of Otterkringer beer since the brewery is in the 16th district of Vienna E. Stands usually carry sodas and mineral water as well, and some even serve Almdudler, a famous Austrian herbal soda, or a small selection of wines. A popular non-beer drink to have is a G-spritzer, which is a white wine spritzer, wine mixed with sparkling water, especially in warmer weather. But many locals simply grab a soda, or whatever they like. The important part is enjoying the quick meal. The way you eat at a Würstelstand is also part of the experience. The sausage is often served on a small paper plate with a blob of mustard and a piece of bread. You'll be given a little fork, a short, wooden or plastic two-pronged fork to stab the sausage pieces. If you got a sausage in a bread roll, like a hot dog or Bosna, you can just hold it and eat, but if it's on a plate, you stand at the tall table and eat it bit by bit. People typically stand around these high tables that are placed next to the stand, using them to hold their food and drinks. There's an unspoken rule to return your empty plate or bottle to the counter or to a bin after you finish, to keep the place tidy. And since many stands don't have a lot of space, you usually make room for the next person once you are done, but there's no rush. You can stay and chat as long as you like, and many do. Local slang and traditions at the sausage stand. One charming aspect of Viennese Würstelstand is the unique slang and humour that surrounds them. Over the decades, a special vocabulary has evolved for ordering at sausage stands. We already mentioned a few, calling a Käsekrainer a Eitridge, a pickle a crocodile, or a beer 16 a bleach. These humorous terms are part of the local culture. For example, a common funny order might be a Eitridge mit and bugle, bit it. This translates to one pus-filled one with a heel of bread, please, meaning a Käsekrainer sausage with the end piece of a bread loaf. The end piece of bread, which is crusty and often given for free, is called bugle, hump, in Viennese dialect. It's a playful way to order, and the people working at the stand understand these expressions and often play along with a grin. Another example, if you want a spicy sausage, you might ask for an Oash Pfeiffer, which is a very slang term that roughly means ass, whistler. Pardon the crudeness, implying it's so spicy it might make you whistle or suffer. Later, this kind of dark humour is typical of what locals call the Wiener Schmar, the Viennese wry humour, which is often present at the Würstelstand. These stands are also known for their informal and humorous atmosphere. The people who run them have heard it all, and they often have a quick joke or a teasing comment ready. For instance, it's not unusual for a sausage stand operator to lightly tease a regular customer or crack a joke while handing over the change. This banter is all in good spirit, and many Viennese cherish it as part of the experience. The term Wiener Schmar refers to a kind of sarcastic yet warm humour that Vienna is famous for, and you'll often encounter it at sausage stands when the vendor jokes with you or with other patrons. Because everyone is standing together, sometimes strangers join in the conversation. You might witness light-hearted debates or story, swapping at the stand late at night. It could be about which sausage is the best, or some completely unrelated topic that a few people started chatting about. There is even a saying that the problems of the world can be solved at forum at a Würstelstand, after a couple of beers and sausages, as the joke goes. Another little tradition is that Würstelstände have influenced pop culture in Vienna. They show up in movies, songs, and books about the city, often as a setting where characters meet. Because they're such a familiar part of city life, a scene of two people talking at a sausage stand instantly reads as Vienna in Austrian films or TV. Local comedians also make jokes about late-night adventures at sausage stands, and artists have made photo series about them. The stands even have an association called the Verein der Wiener Würstelstände, which occasionally organises events. For example, there have been campaigns like a proposed Long Night of the Würstelstand, imitating the famous Long Night of museums, to celebrate these food stalls. This aspect of equality and togetherness is something Viennese people are proud of. In a way, the sausage stand is as much a symbol of Vienna as the grand coffee houses and the wine taverns. In fact, Vienna's coffeehouse culture and its origin, wine taverns, are also famous for bringing people together in a relaxed setting, and they have been officially recognised as cultural heritage. Now the Würstelstand has joined that proud club. In 2024, the Viennese Würstelstand culture was officially recognised by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of Austria. This recognition was given by the Austrian UNESCO Commission, putting sausage stands on the cultural map alongside Vienna's traditional coffeehouses, which were listed in 2011, and the wine taverns known as Eurogen, listed in 2019. Such recognition means that Vienna and Austria see these stands as an important cultural tradition worth preserving for future generations. The mayor of Vienna, Michael Ludwig, said that this honor celebrates the tradition, the hospitality, and the diversity of our city. The title is not just about the food, it is about the whole cultural phenomenon, the friendliness of the vendors, the humor and charm at the stands, and the way these kiosks are meeting places where joy of life and culture come together. As the mayor put it, city officials and many citizens felt proud that something as everyday as the sausage stand received such a prestigious nod because it showed that the world values Vienna's living traditions, not only its monuments. The UNESCO recognition also comes at an important time. While Würstelstände are beloved, their numbers have declined in recent years. There were once hundreds of them, for example, around 500 stands up until 2010, but today only about 120 remain in Vienna A. The reasons include increased competition from fast food chains, changes in urban planning, and possibly lifestyle changes. However, the stands that remain are holding on strong, and many Viennese actively support them. The new UNESCO status can help by raising awareness and encouraging efforts to preserve these stands. Perhaps by easing regulations or inspiring a new generation to take over the business. As one prominent sausage stand owner, Joseph Bitzinger, said about the designation, "We have been fighting a long time for this, noting that a Würstelstand is a form of gastronomy everybody can afford." Indeed, one key importance of the Würstelstand is that it is affordable to almost anyone. You can get a filling snack for a few euros, which means it's not elitist. It's food for everyone every day. Würstelstand also unite people in a unique way. Bitzinger described that at his stand, the general director and the street sweeper stand side by side, and even during the Grand Opera Ball, a celebrity stands next to a worker. That unites people. This captures why Viennese culture values the Würstelstand. It's a place of togetherness and shared enjoyment, regardless of social status. In a world that can be divided, a simple sausage stand reminds us that everyone gets hungry and everyone can share a laugh or a chat over food. This spirit of inclusion and human connection is a core part of Viennese identity, often termed Viennese charm. Thus, the humble Würstelstand is more than a snack bar. It is a cultural icon.